I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags, and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is March 13th, 2020. I'm Eric. How's everyone doing? I hope you're well. So, let me do this here. Alright. So, back, I don't know, mid-January, I believe it was anyway, I began to talk about the pandemic coming from China. And a few months before that, or a couple, there was a desktop or tabletop game, if you will, hosted by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And since then, seemingly, a disease has began to spread worldwide. And we're being told that people are dying. This is what we're being told. There are people out there who believe that nobody is getting sick. They believe that the whole thing, from the beginning all the way through to now, is a hoax. And I'm not here to tell you that it's not a hoax. And I'm not here to tell you that it's real. Early on, I said that even more troubling than a deadly virus spreading is the government's reaction to it. Remember that? Remember me saying something to that effect multiple times? There were people, and possibly still are people, killing themselves in China because they were starving, or for some other unknown reason, jumping from their high-rise buildings. And then, I proposed two ideas to my subscribers. Two. One of which was, could it be the Chinese government intentionally released it, and people thought that, why would they do that to their own people? And I explained in the video that they have a pretty large population, and the communist government there is especially evil, and would definitely sacrifice some of its citizens to further an agenda. This is really not that far-fetched, considering the brutal history of the Chinese Communist Party. Now, and my second one was, could it be our own government released this disease there in China via, intelligence operatives, and that would make sense considering the top Chinese officials have openly advocated for the use of bioweapons on the United States. And flat out said that it's either us, meaning the Chinese, or them, meaning us here in the United States. So, which is it? And is it possible that more than one disease was released at the same time? Or perhaps shortly after? You got guys like Florida Marquis who he swears that none of this is real. And you have others who think it's about Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030, depopulation. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know if any of it's real. I don't know if people are actually dying. I'm not there. I have not witnessed with my own two eyes people dropping dead. But I have witnessed a very stupid things coming out of the mouths of our so-called leadership. Like, Mike Pence and Donald Trump and that Redfield doctor there, Joe Biden. I cringe at the idea that Joe the pervert Biden might actually have a chance to be a president. Joe the pedophile Biden. And people will actually vote for him. They will. Just like they voted for Donald the pedophile Trump. No wonder we have such a bad pedophilia problem in this world. The leadership, it seems, has an affinity for children. So, I don't know if the disease is real. I don't know if people are dying. But it would appear to be that way. It would appear to be that way, and Iran has mass grave sites dug for their dead. So, I would think that considering the actions of the Communist Party there in China, you see, we don't want to listen to the words they speak because they lie. All of them. Not just China, all of them. We want to look at their actions. Right? Everything China did, and is still doing, by the way. People want to pretend that the numbers were given by China right now are real, are accurate. The truth of the matter is, we have no reason to trust China or any other government for that matter. We have no reason to, because all of these entities, they have a long history of lying. They have a long history of deceiving their public and the world. So, we have zero reason to believe anything coming out of the mouths of the Communist Chinese Party or the Republican Party or the Democratic Party or any other party out there. We have no reason to believe what they say during these press conferences. And if you do believe what you're being told, you should probably really dig in to the fine details. Now, I said in my last video that Trump was doomed no matter what he did. If he would have shut down the borders with all the countries when this first started, let's assume that there is a real disease and it is spreading. If they really wanted to contain it, they would have taken immediate action. Oh, there's people that are coming over here sick as fuck. We need to stop these flights now. Now. But what they did was he stopped the flights to China, right? Or coming from. And now, today, around 3 o'clock, he's going to get on TV and declare a state of emergency, getting FEMA involved. Now, we know how well things go when FEMA gets involved. Think Katrina. Think New Orleans. Again, it's not the disease we need to really be worried about, although, if the disease is real, we should be worried about that too. But what the government's about to do, in my opinion, is much, much scarier than a disease. I think we're about to see a whole new level of evil coming from our leaders, so-called leaders. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. But if their typical behavior is any indication, their rampant abuse of power, then it's not likely that I am wrong. Again, I hope I'm wrong. So, I don't think I'm wrong. I think probably things are just going to continue to get worse, and not necessarily because there's a so-called pandemic. It is the word that pandemic that they are going to take full advantage of on both sides. Don't support Donald Trump. Don't support Nancy Pelosi or any of these people who are so-called leaders. Don't support the governor of New York or any other governor, because they all have the same agenda. And people, you are going to get fucked hard. I'm telling you. So, I just watched somebody's video, and I'll be damned if the name doesn't escape me at the moment, but Getting Along Alone, I believe is the name of the channel. He showed a sign that the police are using there in New York that said, don't open your windows or keep your windows closed, one of the two. And why would they want your windows to be closed? Why would they tell you this? Why would they tell you to keep your windows closed? It's something to think about, right? And these people who think that this could be an opportunity for, well, let's say, depopulation, I don't disagree with them. Because, after all, they have said, never let a crisis go to waste, right? So, I'm going to go over a couple articles here, some headlines. We'll see where it goes. Trump's Pearl Harbor, Corona Cataclysm, Economic 9/11. The weight of the world on his shoulders. I'm not sure who they're talking about. Probably old dickhead Donald Trump. You will be able to wipe the floor with what's going to be left of the markets if a more reasonable and sensible way of dealing with coronavirus isn't implemented as soon as now. Entire industries can crumble to dust. At this point, countries are essentially forbidding and prohibiting businesses from making income. And of course, dickhead Donald Trump wants to give the American people a payroll tax cut. Okay? Problem with this. A lot of people are going to lose their fucking jobs. A lot of businesses are going to collapse. So that payroll income tax cut would mean very little to the masses who have lost their income. Okay? I mean, if the government's going to save the American people, they might as well really save them, right? They might as well throw everything they have at saving the American people instead of pussyfooting around. If government's going to intervene and think they're going to do any good, then they might as well go all the way with it. When an entire country is being put under quarantine, how can any small business pull through? because tourism, commuting, shipping, air travel, and trucking are de facto halted, the energy sector has cratered to 15-year lows. And you know what? I don't feel sorry for the energy sector. I don't. Fuck them. And that's another thing. Oh, dickhead Donald Trump, he wants to bail out the fracking companies and the banks. Have we not learned anything? The wave of defaults will be gigantic without federal assistance. The oil industry isn't alone. There are hundreds of thousands of restaurants, hotels, entertainment venues, sports teams, and retail malls which stand to lose a fortune. The Federal Reserve has already cut interest rates to make sure credit is available and that this doesn't drastically escalate into another 2008. I can tell you that in less than a week, it will absolutely slash them aggressively once more. We are in the midst and at the heart of the most terrible economic disaster of our lives. And by the way, them ports are just about empty. You are going to have to get used to living a bit differently than you currently do. Much more intimidating than the virus itself is the disruption it has had and is having on business. The response has been so dramatic that I can't imagine a relief master plan not being drafted as we speak. This could easily escalate to social upheavals since families are tapping into their savings and seeing their businesses demolished and their portfolios obliterated. Our jobs, self-dignity, lifetime body of work, and some people's fortunes are at risk. Wall Street is demanding Powell take a sword and demolish the current interest rates down to zero. Now, if it were up to me, the entire financial system would be allowed to collapse. If it were up to me, the medical industry would be allowed to collapse. If it were up to me, the entire government would be left to collapse. No bailouts for anybody. If it were up to me. Many millions of people will not be able to quit their jobs and retire as they had hoped. Many millions more will likely be laid off or cut back. This upcoming period will be horrific. Well, let's not forget, people, that our agriculture industry hasn't been doing too well. Let's not forget that a lot of our products, food products, are processed in China. Let's not forget our politicians are the ones who made us so dependent on foreign nations for a vast variety of goods, including the most crucial goods like, I don't know, medicines. Let's not forget this. Not since the dot-com massacre of the NASDAQ have so many stocks gone down. And it really doesn't matter which company it is. Nothing has been immune to the virus and to the panic surrounding it. And if people had listened many weeks ago, there would be no need for panic. The store shelves would not be empty. And more people would be able to stock up on things. I specifically said that it would occur to many, many people at the same time that they need certain shit. So, we are just a few days, a few weeks at max from a major meltdown. Already, states are fiddling with the idea of suspending primaries. But check this out. Check this out. I have a video clip for you. Alright, check it out.
The cruise line added the suspension was out of an abundance of caution. For weeks, China's state media has been circulating a narrative that China is not responsible for the coronavirus outbreak and that the virus originated in the U.S. Today, the blame shifting is official.
China's foreign ministry spokesperson tweeted this afternoon, accusing the U.S. military of bringing the virus to Wuhan. Zhao Lijian tweeted from his official account that it might be the U.S. Army who brought the epidemic to Wuhan. He asked the U.S. to, quote, be transparent, make public your data, saying U.S. owe us an explanation. The so-called...
Now, of all the countries out there telling another government to be transparent, it's China. China. The most untransparent, full of shit government out there.
Proof he cited is a testimony from CDC Director Robert Redfield. Redfield said a few Americans who had died from influenza later tested positive for the coronavirus. But according to official reports, the first coronavirus death in the U.S. was confirmed on February 28th. That's nearly 3 months after the major outbreak started in China. Nevertheless, in China, the media has rallied around the narrative that the U.S. is to blame. One article from the communist regime state media titled, America Finally Admitted It, suggests that some of the tens of thousands of people who died from seasonal flu in the U.S. last year actually died from the coronavirus. Another Chinese military portal, Xilu.com, recently published an article claiming that the virus is a U.S. bioweapon war against China, and that the U.S. chose Wuhan as a target because they are trying to shift the blame to Wuhan's P4 lab. This recent narrative is a drastic change from the Chinese authorities' prior statement that the virus originated in the seafood market in Wuhan.
So now they changed their story. You know, first it was some bitch eating bat soup that started this shit off. And now it's the U.S. Army. We'll never know the truth. We just won't. And they will not ever tell us. But there's a lot of stuff going on. All of it surrounding this virus, imaginary or real, either way. Los Angeles, San Diego cancel school. Louisiana becomes the first state to postpone primary. And these are virus updates here. And this is from Tyler Durden. Okay. Organizers of the London Marathon have canceled the race, which was scheduled to be held on April 26th. That's 6 weeks out. Even though, it's given such a large event, it is understandable to them. Joint statement does not say when schools might reopen, and that's one of the only good things to come out of this. Kids being out of these fucking indoctrination prison camps they call schools. I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And if you notice, look at here. They took the WHO little tag off and put the CDC's tag up instead. Let's face it, the WHO dragged its feet for some unknown reason. Alright. Okay, WHO Director General says that Europe has become the epicenter of the pandemic with more reported cases than the rest of the world combined, apart from China. Do you trust any of these people? Do you? Do you really trust Donald Trump to tell you the truth? Do you really trust Nancy Pelosi to pass legislation that doesn't have hidden agendas within it? Do you? Do you really trust the people that you're going to be expected to vote for here or not in the next few months? Do you really trust them? I wouldn't leave my chihuahua with any of them, let alone trust them with my life or the lives of my children. And I hate my chihuahua. I hate that dog. And I still wouldn't trust the likes of Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump or Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Hillary the cunt Clinton. Never would I trust these people, and neither should you. Again, do you really trust the likes of Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, or any of the rest of them? Do you really? If you do, if you trust these people, here's a good one for you. Here's a good one. Government fails at COVID-19 test distribution. Not just distribution, they fucked the whole test up. But it has $1.5 trillion for Wall Street. Isn't that nice? This comes from Matt Argus, by the way. Last week, in regards to the COVID-19 test, President Donald Trump told Americans that anyone who wants a test can get a test. We've all heard this shit. Fast forward to this week, however, and we've found out just how untrue that statement is. Once the CDC declared COVID-19 to be a public health emergency, that triggered regulations which prevented hospitals and private lab companies from developing their own tests. Personally, I would have went ahead and developed the tests anyway, just because you can't trust the government to do anything right. Nothing. Oh, there's one thing it does right. It kills you. That's what it does right. Okay? When it came time for them to release these tests, the CDC botched the rollout and of the one they developed, leaving doctors unable to properly diagnose and treat their patients. It's a government-sponsored shit show. And that's exactly what it is. A shit show. In quotes, as a practicing hospitalist, I'm furious that my ability to test patients for this disease is curtailed due to CDC-imposed red tape, said Dr. Kyle Varner, a physician from the state of Washington. In quotes again, the result is that patients are waiting for extended periods of time for their testing results and experiencing isolation and discomfort while doctors can only guess at the true extent of the pandemic or epidemic in their communities. A statement from the Libertarian National Committee summed up this debacle nicely. Public health authorities in the United States soak up billions of tax dollars per year, run entire federal and state agencies, and regularly lobby Congress for more power and tax money. Yet, when the time comes for them to respond to a global pandemic that threatens hundreds of thousands of American lives, they let America down. How many times do you people have to be let down by these fucking psychopaths before you understand they want you dead? Before you understand they see you as an enemy. Before you understand they are the enemies. They are the terrorists. They are the ones causing most of the world's problems. And I'm not just talking about our politicians. I'm talking about all of them. The result will be that this pandemic will be far more deadly and disruptive than it could have otherwise been. And it's going to be very disruptive. Listen, people, we will be lucky. We will be, or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. The people who clamor for all these government things, you know, police, hospitals, prisons, these things, these socialist institutions, by the way, for these people, life is about to change drastically. We may pay taxes to support these agencies and their bureaucrats, but that doesn't mean we can rely on them to keep us safe or healthy. And I would say that you can rely on them to keep you unsafe and unhealthy. Think Monsanto, Bayer, Syngenta, all these corporations allowed to run amok and pollute our planet with no consequence. In fact, during this pandemic, they have been the single biggest obstacle to an effective and life-saving response to the crisis. South Korea is able to test 15,000 patients per day. We haven't even tested 2,000 people. Not that I support any of it, but if they wanted to save lives, instead of canceling the flights to China, they should have stopped them all. And the dumb motherfuckers getting on these cruise ships should be left there. They knew, the most recent ones, they knew what was going on. They knew people were stuck, and what they do, they still went on a cruise ship anyway. But you can see that this whole thing is a debacle. It's a fraud. It's bullshit. And not because I think the disease is fake. They're lying in reaction to it. That's the fraud. That's the debacle. That's what you should expect from government. Here, I got another one for you. So you say they end up quarantining and you want to go out and spend some time outside in your yard, and Officer Friendly comes and tells you to get your fucking ass back inside. And you say, hey, this is my property. I'm gonna stay in my own yard. And they get out and they fuck you up. You think this is far-fetched? I mean, they are beating innocent handcuffed children on video. They are breaking college students' face, then take trophy photos. This is what you should expect if these people show up at your door. You should expect to be brutalized. You should expect guns to be held to your children's heads. You should expect to be separated. You should expect to be treated like the fucking animals they think you are. Tell me, do you trust your local law enforcement to do the right thing? Do you trust Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, any other politician to do the right thing? I hope with all my heart that things get so bad, and not necessarily in the way of the sickness, but to the point where the system collapses. I hope it gets that bad. I really do. Anyway, thought I would talk to you guys today, and since my mouth isn't swollen and hurting anymore, I will do my best to be on regularly. And until next time, kill the state. Live free.